Hello, everybody, and welcome to Eden Fractal. We're here for our 117th event. I'm here with Rosmari and Tadas and Will and Time. Thank you so much all for being here. Thank you for watching, everybody watching out there on the internet. I hope you all enjoy the event and hope you enjoy the episode. We have exciting topics on the agenda today here at Eden Fractal, and I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts. If anyone wants to say hello or anything like that quickly, feel free. Then I have a presentation to share for an introduction to Eden Fractal and the introduction to topics on the agenda, and then we can jump into the topics and an open discussion after that. Sound good? We were doing thumbs up beforehand, so I think that sounds good. Hey, hey. And I'll go ahead and share my presentation now. All right, so got thumbs up from Will, got thumbs up, sounds good. We are here for Eden Fractal as we meet on Thursday, 17th UTC, and our main goal in this event is to explore the tripartite governance architecture of Optimism Fractal and how the governance integration creates truly democratic fund distribution through the respect game to revolutionize capital allocation. Of course, we can also have an open discussion related to the fractal ecosystem, but I'm particularly excited about this topic here, and I see that Time is as well. Give it some hearts, because, well, I just recently released a governance strategy document or a governance integration strategy document as a second deliverable in a mission, research mission that was approved by Optimism Grants several months ago. That's examining democratic fund distribution through the Optimism Fractal Respect game. And so I released this document, which we'll explore today, and then we'll hear from everybody's thoughts. We'll also hear from Tadas, who designed many of the governance systems, including ORDAO and Optimism Fractal Council and the Respect game. You can see the triangle here showing the tripartite governance structure of judicial, legislative, and executive branch. And yeah, we'll be able to explore the history of it, starting from Daniel Larimer's book, More Equal Animals, the Go Fractally white paper, the practical implementation over 250 events, and the powerful synergies and benefits that it creates, and explore each of these models of governance and how they all work together to form a holistic governance system for capital allocation and general collective decision-making processes. So if you're not familiar with Eden Fractal, I recommend going to edenfractal.com. You're very welcome to do so. Eden Fractal is a community dedicated to optimizing collective decision-making through collaborative research, development, education, gamification, and community engagement. We've been meeting at the Eden community since 2021 for about 4 years now, and together we pioneered ways for communities to coordinate that are fair and fast and fun, and we host bi-weekly events that bring together governance leaders, builders, and anyone who's interested in exploring better coordination systems from theory to practical implementation. Everyone's welcome to join our events, watch our videos, and explore our blog to learn more about fractal consensus processes and how they can help your community organization thrive with better decision making. So we have a vision, clear and crystallized, that all communities and organizations have the tools and methods to make the best possible decision making. You can learn more about this and our mission and much more on edenfractal.com. Our mission to implement these fractal decision making processes to society. And just like plants branch out in fractal patterns to maximize their growth and resilience and create a beautiful fractal nature that is able to thrive in all kinds of different environments, human and societies and communities can also use fractal decision-making processes to coordinate more effectively at any scale by breaking down into smaller groups and using software such as the Respect game or games such as the Respect game and software that developers in the community have been building. So here's a place where we learn about this and we explore it. Everyone's welcome to join our bi-weekly events to learn about these, as well as network with talented builders and learn how to use these processes and how they can be used to help the world. And we produce videos of each event too. So we produce over 115 actually amazing videos of our weekly, bi-weekly events. And so this is an educational resource, and everyone's welcome to join in the videos too and share your thoughts, jump on stage. And we are working to build abundance with not only the videos and the events, but also the tools too. We're pioneering the Optimistics Toolkit, building fractal apps that help people play the Respect game, coordinate decisions with Respect, and use fractal decision-making processes to improve their governance. So, and all sorts of other stuff too, like their general joy and cooperation and so forth. So I hope to see everybody at the events. Everyone's welcome to join. You can learn more at edenfractal.com, join the group chat and so forth. And that's the general introduction. Everyone's welcome to join these events. You can register for email reminders at lou.mosh/optimistics. Optimistics are the team that organize the events, as well as software infrastructure and so forth. You can see these beautiful messages that you can get to your email from Rosmari with explanations about what we'll be discussing and previews and so forth, and encourage people to subscribe to the calendar calendar and invite friends. On alternating Thursdays, we also host Optimism Fractal events where we play the Respect game and pioneer these processes on Ethereum, and Optimism Town Hall right after for more discussions about Superchain and about these processes. And also a note too, daylight savings time just began in the United States and other countries on March 9th. So all the events on the calendar, including Eden Fractal and the Optimism events next week, are scheduled in UTC. So that means that today's event is 1 hour later for people in these daylight savings time observing regions. And that's also true for the future events as well until November. So keep that in mind. And encourage people to join those events next week for Optimism Fractal, where we'll be playing infinite games, respect games on Ethereum. So you can check out all the videos that we've produced on edenfractal.com/videos. We've recently had great discussions exploring AI and dialectics and DAOs with Dialexity, and discussing coordination games to grow fractal gardens and growing the fractal ecosystem and much more, that you can view all these videos over the past 2.5 years or so. So I encourage you to check it out. These are also published on the Eden Creators YouTube channel as well, where you can find Eden Fractal videos as well as the Optimism Fractal videos and many other related shows that help people make better decisions. And like and subscribe to share more, to see more, and check out the blog if you want to read more about it on the Eden Fractal blog too. And like I said, the main kind of game that we're working on is the Respect game. So you can check out optimistics.io to learn more about the Respect game, or you can find it on the Eden Fractal website too, and learn more about the tools that we're building too to play the Respect game that you can use for your community. Just want to give a quick couple of things on community news. One, several people in the community were in Denver for Ethereum Denver or ETH Denver, and there was a great discussions there. And we recently produced a video about this at optimismtownhall.com. It's also on the YouTube channel as well, where you can learn more about what some Fractal community members have been up to in Denver and in the Ethereum ecosystem. Lots of exciting updates have been going on there. And then for today's agenda, like I said, for every governance enthusiast or somebody who's interested in better capital allocation or just curious to learn more about Optimism Fractal, we're going to be exploring these how the tripartite governance framework addresses fundamental challenges in democratic scaling. And of course, this will also talk about fractal democracy and fractal governance as well. Like I said, we have these great tweets here that provide a summary of what we'll discuss. We're going to discuss the Respect game as a judicial foundation, Optimism Fractal Council as legislative branch, and ORDAO as the executive implementation. And this is part of a mission that I got approved by the Optimism Grants Council to explore democratic fund distribution through the Optimism Fractal Respect game. So there's high-level overview here, and then and this post has actually been posted on the Optimism Governance forum. So I suppose, if anybody wants to jump in or raise their hand or share any thoughts or share a message in the chat, then feel free. But maybe I'll continue. It's a bit of a longer introductory presentation. Appreciate everyone's patience and hope everyone's enjoying. Maybe I'll just give a little introduction to this mission proposal as well, because we haven't covered it yet at Eden Fractal. We've covered it a couple times at Optimism Fractal or Optimism Town Hall, but this is the first time we're discussing here. So I'll maybe take a couple minutes to just introduce this. So as I mentioned, this was a mission, a research mission that was approved by the Optimism Grants Council last year, maybe 6 months ago, 4 months ago, where I created a mission with all these milestones and stuff like that, an explanation of what I wanted to do, basically saying that I wanted to research and I have it's quite long, but it's a project that aims to conduct research and design an automated, decentralized, and compliant fund distribution for the Respect game and Optimism Fractal. And it aims to research and design an on-chain infrastructure for automated distribution of funds based upon community participation in the Respect game and on-chain governance protocols that can both be used by Optimism Fractal or some sort of the Optimism Fractal community or community members in the Optimism Fractal, and also developing a blueprint for a compliant fund distribution process and a legal entity structure that's integrated with on-chain fund distribution mechanisms and necessary KYC processes to be able to operate compliantly in different jurisdictions, and then design a framework for integrating the system with the Optimism Fractal community, and demonstrate how this could be integrated into various governance systems in the Optimism Collective and the superchain, such as retrofunding, Citizens House, and Token House, and so forth. So there's much more about it here, but that's kind of like a high-level overview of it. And we produced 2 videos at Optimism Town Hall over the past couple months. One where I went over this full original proposal in detail, and we heard some feedback and questions and comments and so forth from community members, and then we discussed it. So I encourage people to check out optimismtownhall.com/33 if you want to see an introduction to the proposal, as well as there's always show notes in here too, so you can find the actual link to the mission proposal and stuff like that there too. So we're kind of in the middle of some of this discussion. So for anybody who wants the full context, recommend watching that, as well as the next one, Optimism Town Hall 34. Optimismtownhall.com/34 provides a more detailed overview. And this is after I released the first deliverable in the mission. And so this one, I'd say this one might be a better introduction overall, but they both together, they both provide a lot of helpful information and include things that they each don't include. Then you can find the links in the show notes for each. And then, yeah, so just to provide a bit more overview here too. So basically this forum post on the Optimism Governance forum, it has a first post that's like a general introduction to the mission proposal and the research and so forth, and talks about the challenges and the problems and how capital allocation fund distribution systems often struggle with scalable implementation and fairness and all that stuff like that, and how the respect game provides a solution. And then it goes into the research goals and vision that I kind of gave a brief overview here. And then there's 6 research deliverables that I'm curating in this thread, that I'm writing in this thread, basically publishing here. So the first one was the initial technical architecture blueprint that I published about a month ago, and we discussed in the 34th episode of Optimism Town Hall. And then the one that we're going to discuss today is the governance integration strategy document. So after we went through the overall blueprint of how it generally will work, then we're going to discuss today the governance integration strategy document, which details how the Respect Game's innovative governance protocols facilitate democratic fund distribution, and it examines specific mechanisms that enable fair capital allocation in Optimism Fractal while maintaining and increasing decentralization, and it provides frameworks for integrating with existing community coordination processes at Optimism Fractal. So this is the blueprint here, the initial technical architecture blueprint that we talked about in the 34th episode of Optimism Town Hall, that everybody can see there, about general design principles and system architecture with different layers for community coordination layer and legal and compliance and fund distribution and charts and stuff like that. And then Rosmari followed up here with a message about the 2 videos where everybody can see the video content about these and a little overview about them. And now where we're at is this third, or rather, I guess it's 4th post and second deliverable, which is the governance integration strategy for the democratic fund distribution to the Respect Game, where it has introduction, exploration of the critical role in fund of governance and fund distribution and why governance integration matters, context about the roots of our governance system, about fractal democracy, about more equal animals, about the years of implementation and past experiments in fund distribution with fractal democracy, more history about Fractally, Eden Fractal, and Optimism Fractal. I'm just giving a quick overview here. We can go into these in more detail in a bit if we like. What are fractal decision-making processes in general, as I kind of explained before, and why traditional governance can't scale and why you need fractal decision-making processes, and then an overview of Optimism Fractal's governance structure that a lot of it was very inspired by Tadas's article called The Universality of Tripartite Governance, that recognized that all effective governance systems naturally differentiate, or all decision-making experience systems, even on an individual level, differentiate into 3 fundamental perspectives about judging, making choices, and implementing decisions, and how that aligns with the judicial, legislative, and executive branch, and how this is happening at Optimism Fractal. But it's not, people often think about separation of powers in terms of where it's totally different people in each of these branches, but in Optimism Fractal, everybody can participate in all of these branches. So the Respect Game serves as both the foundation and the judicial branch, where each every other week people play the Respect Game to progressively get more involved in the governance processes and to rank each other's contributions and to make a fair distribution of respect tokens and so forth. And then we have the Optimism Fractal Council, which serves as a legislative branch, creating a structure for more deliberative decision making about anything in the community, including fund distribution strategies and policies. And then we have ORDAO, which is the optimistic respect-based DAO, smart contracts that Tadas has been building for almost a year now, that serves as the executive branch of the governance system, allowing a community such as Optimism Fractal to make decisions on chain using OREC, the optimistic respect-based executive contract. So We've also covered ORDAO and the council in previous videos too. So I'm just giving a quick high-level overview here, and then we can dive in deeper to whatever people are most interested in exploring. And of course, this is all built on the foundations of the respect token that people earn by playing the respect game. And then in this article, there's a much more detailed overview of the respect game and the specific mechanics and mechanisms and the judicial functions of the respect game and the foundation for fund distribution here, and another more detailed section about the Optimism Fractal Council and the structure of how it's composed and how it's selected each week, and the decision-making process and its responsibilities and integration with the broader community, and ORDAO and how it works on a technical overview, the specifications and parameters, composition, membership, decision-making process and responsibility. So basically, each one of these three branches, we have a more detailed overview about each of them with lots of links where you can learn more. And then there's also more details too about like the Optimism Fractal's communication channels and community engagement, and a place where people can learn more and get involved and participate in the system with links and stuff like that, and different fund distribution mechanisms that we've either experimented with or conceptualized that work with these fractal decision-making processes and future improvements. So then it wraps up with a conclusion. So thanks again, everybody, for listening and being here. And I know there's a long presentation, but I wanted to catch up the Eden Fractal audience and anybody here who wasn't familiar with this with kind of where we're at, and then give just like a very general overview of this governance integration strategy. And then from there, we can explore, whatever components we want more. I'm happy to provide more details about any of these things. And as I said before, so Tadas has been a lead architect of these governance infrastructures. So, I mean, the Respect game, the original mechanism was created by Dan Larimer, who I mentioned previously, and you can find out more about this and Fractally and so forth. And then, so that's kind of like, but we've been evolving it for the past years. And then the council, we created this in week 11 or 12, or event 11 or 12 of Optimism Fractal. And that's something that Tadas published. We were going back and forth about, and then he finalized and came up with a lot of great designs that have been working very well for over a year at Optimism Fractal. And a lot of people participated in that. And we made a lot of great decisions from there. And ORDAO is something that I think partially inspired by the council, but Tadas took it in a totally different direction, built on-chain software with it. And so Tadas is a primary architect of a lot of these governance systems. So pleased to have Tadas here with us where he can share his perspectives. Also, one thing I forgot to mention too is that I published this document. I had to kind of brush it out a little bit because I had a deadline that was fast approaching for it. And after I got back from Denver, I didn't have much time to work on it. But I sent a message to Das in Telegram afterwards, and I said that here's like the draft, and I had to publish it. But I do plan to make some updates here. Das provided some comments here, and I haven't yet had a chance to make these. Make these updates yet, but maybe also some updates and interesting ideas and feedback will come from here. I'm very interested in hearing any feedback and people's thoughts on this, and really appreciate Tadas's feedback and thoughts here. I also have a couple notes here, but this is basically the same document, but Tadas has some questions, and I have some questions, and he also wrote some more detailed questions as well or more detailed thoughts as well that inspired him to think of uh, why this structure is elegant, and more things that we can highlight to make it more useful for people and more understandable, and also some really interesting new insights that came from it too. So um, yeah, so I just want to provide all the context there. And also, I want to just express enthusiasm and excitement too, because this is, I think, the first time that we've had all these in one place before. So it's very nice to see everything working together. And so I'm very curious to see what everybody will think about it. Anyway, that's enough for me. I've been speaking for a long time. So floor is open. I don't know if Tadashi, you want to follow up with any comments there? Welcome, Zaal, too. Thanks for joining. And yeah, if anybody else has any questions or thoughts, then feel free to raise your hand or unmute throughout the meeting or share a message in the chat as well. And if it would be useful for me to go into any more of those, or perhaps Sadas, or I know Rosmari is also very knowledgeable at all these things too. So if anybody else wants to provide more details about it, we could also just walk through more of it too and kind of go into each one or whatever thoughts. But I see Tadas is unmuted, so I'll pass over to Tadas now.
Maybe it would be useful to cover a bit how these systems came about, especially the legislative and the executive, and why it makes sense for most on-chain communities to have this kind of division. Yeah, so we started Optimism Fractal with very basic smart contracts. We basically replicated the process that we already tried in Eden Fractal, but we re-implemented it on EVM. And yeah, the respect distribution was not automated at all, and there was no way to make proposals and so on. But our vision always was that fractals should have like fully fledged governance systems where people could not just play respect but also make decisions. And so yeah, but we deployed without that. Just wanted to try it out, to try a respect game on Optimism, and then yeah, we said that this is a bootstrapping phase, and after 12 weeks, we plan to propose or create. Initially, maybe even a thought that we will create a governance process for the respect game. But as the 12th week was approaching, we weren't able to create anything on any governance process on chain because we couldn't even agree on the actual on the actual design, like how would proposals get passed and so on, because there are a lot of tricky questions regarding voter apathy, like most naive solutions, I mean, suffer from problems like this. And yeah, so at the same time, we wanted to give something to community to enable it to signal opinion, even if we are not immediately implemented on chain. And so we thought about ways in which we could create a governance systems using existing tools without really coding anything. And so we use snapshot for that, and we basically the current council process for Optimism Fractal is basically guided by the tools we use. Like basically we looked at the most simple governance system that we could have using the tools we already have. And yeah, and that's how we created the current council proposal system for Optimism Fractal. And later I started creating ORDAO to actually automate proposal execution, distribution of respect, and so on. And I started creating it, but at first we weren't sure like if Optimism Fractal was going to use ORDAO. It was basically, we couldn't reach consensus even among ourselves who started Optimism Fractal about the design of that on-chain part of a governance system. But I thought I just wanted to start nonetheless to create a proof of concept to show that this could work for Optimism Fractal, so I did. And then we used because we had this off-chain governance system, we could basically use it to decide if we wanted to use ORDAO or some other solution. Yeah, so, and that's, I think, what a lot of DAOs could learn, like how if you have both off-chain process and on-chain process, how you can use off-chain process to decide on changes for the on-chain smart contract, and the other way around, I guess, as well. How you basically have these two parts which complement each other. I could expand now about how these parts complement each other and how they differ. Or does anyone have any thoughts or any comments?
I don't have
Yes,
anything.
just for clarity,
Will.
can you expand on what you mean by on-chain process and off-chain process?
Yeah, so legislative branch is basically more off-chain. It uses on-chain respect distribution, but the voting is off-chain. Uh, yeah, because that's the way snapshot currently works. Uh, yeah, I guess you could have legislative branch that works on chain too, but I think it makes sense to you can create more user-friendly tools faster using off-chain process, and that's I think why it makes sense. It's easier simply to have legislative branch off-chain uh, while having it like rooted in the respect distribution, so it's not like you don't need to trust it too much.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as Dan alluded to earlier, this is a very elegant model that's been built. I also think it's a highly intelligent model, and it speaks to a lot of the systemic challenges that a lot of communities and our DAOs face in the current climate of the blockchain ecosystem, right? When you analyze it from the top down view, really the only human influence decision making within this is through either the snapshot proposals or through the respect game, right? Which I think is very good. Humans are not always inspired to vote or to take an active role in their communities in the current landscape where attention spans are very, I'll say they're very short, right? So yeah, I think this is a really cool solution, speaking to the challenges that we face in the communities that we're involved in to inspire people to be more involved in the process, more engaged with the community, and to understand the value of not only their work, but the collective work that the community is producing.
Yes, and the way the council process using snapshot solves it is that uh, every week people vote to be in the council. Uh, Basically, people register by voting in a poll whether they will be in the council for that week, and then only those people, basically top six of those people, based on respect, uh, can uh, can pass proposals. So that's created in a way so that we don't get stuck if like majority of people are not active in governance decisions.
I agree. Yeah, and maybe one thing I can add, in addition to thanking everybody for all the great thoughts and comments and so forth, is this is also inspired by a lot of experience and real just testing and like kind of dogfooding, kind of trying it out. So, but for about a year and a half before Optimism Fractal launched, we were doing Eden Fractal, and we had another consensus process there that Tadas had designed, called Eden plus Fractal, where we elected delegates in each breakout room, and that worked out well, and it had a lot of great features. But then it didn't have an on-chain component, and our on-chain component, we had done like a 4 out of 6 msig or something like that with some early community members, and we'd experienced a lot of issues, like some people stopped participating or whatever it may be, as Will was saying. And so I remember seeing a tweet from Vitalik. I think it was him. Maybe it was AI agent Vitalik. I don't know. But he was saying how like the best govern or like the best systems evolve from like, meeting needs in like a real environment and testing and iteration over time and so forth. And so like the Eden Fractal as a whole has helped us craft this, and what we have now is an output of a lot of experience and refinement and testing and seeing what works and so forth. And so, like Tadas said, basically the council has a form of like a consent-based system that takes some inspiration from sociocracy and holacracy, and can overcome things like voter apathy or voter fatigue and so forth by allowing people to participate when they want to. Well, all three branches actually have that same feature, basically, where you don't need to have a huge amount of participation to be able to make decisions, but people can participate as much as they like, basically. And each of them have, different features like this. It's also imbued by the fractal features even before Eden Fractal started. So there's lots of like deep lessons and principles that are baked into all of these governance systems to make them, I think, really, really suited well to work well for Optimism Fractal and fund distribution, as well as many other communities too. I see Rosemary's asking a question too. Is there a way to participate written or described somewhere?
Is the way to participate in the council or the governance processes with regards to voting written or described somewhere? For example,
What's up? Oh no, there was one on the ground. Thank you.
Zaal, you're unmuted, by the way. Just so you know, there's one on the ground.
Yeah. And then I know Dan curated some of the processes to come and like join the council each week based on the poll to register that we put in Snapshot. I think in the Sages, maybe it's in the Sages article. And then I know that some of the processes for how the ORDAO software works are described in the ORDAO page again. So are the processes for how to kind of connect these three pieces with the respect game, the ORDAO, and then the council, or the sages, like we call them, that govern the Optimism Fractal? Are they like well documented? Is there any maybe timeline, or not a timeline, but idea on if these will be enhanced, or if maybe there can be like one document that describes them all? It's kind of like a more comprehensive process. Is that research like that Dan did, is that aiming to sort of consolidate all these efforts and maybe like describe them? But then also, I think personally, we might need like an article that like combines all the three parts in one process. Is that in the works? Or
Yeah, so good points. And yeah, I mean, this is the best representation of that right now. It's all in one spot. I see Tadas wrote, maybe I'll share my screen just because I think it might be helpful to share a couple more resources here. Although Tadas, if you want to go ahead and answer first, then feel free to jump ahead of me. Yeah, I'll go ahead then. So this article is aiming to do that, but it's also aiming to do some other things too. So at some point, I'd like to maybe, this is like a long, deep article on the Optimism governance form. At some point, I'd like to take some parts of it and put it on Optimism Fractal website or Optimistic's website or different places that people can more easily see it and better understand like just, parts of it. Because this goes into like, for example, why this matters and why that's helpful for fund distribution, because the mission is about fund distribution and so forth, and the origin and so forth. But, a lot of people might not want to look at that depending on the context that they're in, and they might not need to know about fractal decision-making processes. And so, for example, we could separate some of these articles or some of this longer research mission into more articles. And then like right now, so well, first I'll just mention what Tadas shared, because that's maybe the best place that we have all in one. If you go to optimismfractal.com/details, or that's also in the top right corner under intents over here. We have to change the URL probably. But yeah, this basically explains all the specifications of both the core intents of Optimism Fractal that's been chosen by the community, and also the mechanisms and how to participate in them in like the kind of simplest, most straightforward way to explain the specification. So it says like everyone's welcome to join, or it doesn't even say everyone's welcome to join here, but it just says respect games happen weekly. At the start, participants are randomly distributed and so forth. So that explains how the respect game works in simple terms. And then there's this part for 5 for consensus process, which And maybe this should be updated a bit because now there's also the ORDAO consensus process, and that's kind of a different consensus process. But this is the consensus process for the council, basically, that explains how it works and how a poll is created for participants to register, take part in the consensus process over the next 2 weeks. This is the registration poll, and participants can register and so forth. And then here's how it works if you can join and how you can approve a proposal or make a proposal and stuff like that. And then it has a part about the executive contract, and then that explains ORDAO, and it links to the snapshot proposal right now where that was approved basically with more details about exactly what the executive contract that we're using in is with the GitHub link and so forth. So that's like a pretty technical explanation of how it works. And I think for Rosmari, it'd also be useful to have a more just like not so much directed at the intents and the specifications. I think this is an excellent article or document, but also it'd be helpful to have a kind of a user guide or like a more like friendly kind of welcoming and understanding thing about exactly targeted towards how you can specifically participate. And how that works. And that was part of my intention with this document, just having it all in one spot. If I go back here, then if you scroll past all the introductory stuff, then you can get to like a kind of a more like a bit more of like a easy to read language, or not easy to read, but just more like conversational, I guess, or something that just explains in different words that's a little bit less technical here, which explains each way it works and provides a bit more detail. But again, this also has a lot of other details that aren't so much related to onboarding and explaining people how to get involved. So I suppose both of these documents can do it to some extent, but at some point it'd be great to have another document that explains more straightforward, like how people can get involved and so forth. And then in addition to that, too, I also had pulled up a bunch of other links. If anybody wants to, oh, I see Will raise a hand, so maybe I'll pass it to Will now, and then I'll show. But the other thing I was going to show is the other thing I was going to show real quick is just because I see Will lowered his hand is in addition. One of the reasons why I think that this article is useful is in addition to collecting everything all in one place and then explaining how they work together, because previously we didn't have a really thorough explanation of that outside of, Joss wrote this article for universality of governance model, but he wrote this before we had ORDAO, I think. And it was kind of like a first part, and he had a to-do list, so it wasn't like something he fully published. And so this is the first article we have that really brings it all together. And then within this article, there's a bunch of other articles and videos and resources that are linked within it. So like there's articles about the respect game that have more details about how it works and so forth and how you can get involved. And we have a welcome article on the Optimism Fractal site for that, an article about ORDAO, an article about Optimism Fractal Council. And each of these have like, both descriptions about how it works and why it's important and videos where we talked about it and stuff like that. So they have a lot of resources. And yeah, eventually we can sculpt this into, have all these more detailed resources for when people want to dive in deeply to it, but then also have just like more kind of beginner's guide to Optimism Fractal governance and how to get involved, as I think you were suggesting there, Rosmari. Hopefully that was a helpful, Rosmari, and curious to hear your thoughts about it. And then also curious to hear Will's thoughts too. Did you want to respond to that before Will goes, Rosmari?
Yes, it sounds good. Seems like there's a lot of information that can be curated to create maybe both a user guide, which is more internal, internally shared, and also probably it would be good to have like an external version of that published somewhere, and also another version that is more so focused on like organizations that would like to benefit from capital allocation mechanism, and the designs that are innovative, and we'll probably have a version that is more targeted for their needs and explains that in kind of like a nice, I suppose, packaged version of all these legislative and all the branches that you thought about.
Yep, sounds great. I agree, and I think that's a good next step to do at some point soon. To do exactly as you said, basically, and break it down for different audiences who are interested in different things, and take all the key points from longer documents like this and to curate it into smaller parts that are targeted for each different audience or people who want to participate in different ways or use it in different ways. Will, would you like to share some thoughts? I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Kind of speaking to these challenges maybe that we're uncovering here, right? Are you guys familiar with Guild.xyz?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I think speaking of Rosemary's point, right? You guys have the website, you've got all the video content assets, you've got all the blogs and things like that. You could very easily create a guild page that would curate these assets and these resources, and it can do it in a digestible format. You can do it incrementally, and you can also, if I'm not mistaken, you can also incorporate your tax tree roles in the guild page as well, and you can make it as robust as you want, or you can make it as simple as you want. But I feel that Guild.xyz would be a very elegant, to use your words, Dan, again, an elegant solution for this. And that way you can highlight and feature the areas of emphasis that you want people to pay attention to based on their user journey.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Will, the for reminding us about Guild and for explaining how it could be useful. I remember we talked about it maybe 6 months ago or something like that after I think Optimism Fractal, and you gave me an overview of how you're using it with I think Kingfisher's Media, maybe Let's Grow and some other communities. And yeah, I think it's a very interesting tool, and I look forward to learning more about it. I see Time it also gave a thumbs up, and yeah, this might help with helping people understand these governance processes and get involved with them in different ways, as well as it seems like a very general purpose tool, so it could help with other things too. I see I pulled it up and I pulled up Guild and Base Guild and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot to explore here, and look forward to exploring this and collaborating to figure out the best ways to help people understand and benefit and get involved with these governance processes at Optimism Fractal and also in other communities too that would like to adopt these.
Yeah, I agree that now adding more complexity to the governance processes at Optimism Fractal will make it so that we might benefit from such onboarding, like easier to onboard platforms like Guild.xyz, to make it easier for newcomers and whoever wants to participate more on that level.
Yeah, and just kind of adding on to what you said, I view guild memberships as like part of the reputation layer, right? So it's a very incremental but simple solution for people to build their on-chain reputation. Not that we're not already doing that with the Respect game, but this would be kind of an enhancement for that, right? I am a member of more than 30 guilds within here, so I like to think that based on the association with these other communities, that goes a long way in my reputation factor inside of Web3. And then, like you said, Dad, yeah, we have a guild page for KF Media. We have one for Let's Grow DAO. I just recently helped unlock Protocol DAO, get a guild page active and going to use their onboarding solution. So.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks, Will, very much for letting us know about it and also being a pioneer in the space and helping us learn how we can use this. Much appreciated. I also see Time said, gotta go. Great to be here. Will T, good suggestions. Thanks a lot, Time, for being here, and hope you've enjoyed the event. If you wanted to say goodbye or anything like that before you go, then you could feel free. And otherwise, well, either way, I hope you have a great day and looking forward to seeing you again soon. And Rosemarie said that she noticed that Base and Optimism have partially gated their Discord based on whether in the guild. Yeah, so that it can also work with hats too, I believe, and you can have all sorts of different kinds of roles and abilities to do Discord or Telegram and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems like a very powerful tool in many ways.
Yeah, and Unlock Protocol DAO also has an integration with Guild as well. So there's value in that also. Also, before we close, I just wanted to highlight the fact that I did put resources in the chat for anybody who's considering and participating in Gitcoin Grants 23 cycle. The primary focus is on open software or open source software builders and developers. three main categories: dev tooling, Web3 infrastructure, and dApps and apps. So yeah, you guys have those resources available to you. And if you need help, just tap into those resources because they're there for a reason.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Will. Much appreciated. And yeah, I would like to apply and get involved with Gitcoin grants and GG23. Encourage people to check it out. I think that Will was just taking part in the onboarding program as well beforehand. He shared a link there, and then he shared some of the links with Let's Grow .network/Gitcoin and stuff. So looking forward to following up with you about that, Will, and also encourage everybody to check out Gitcoin if you'd like to get some funding for building cool stuff that's helpful for the Ethereum ecosystem. We we only have about 8 minutes scheduled left, but we did get started late and happy to continue the discussion too. This is actually also, by the way, we skipped last Eden Fractal event because of ETH Denver. So if we want to go a bit longer, then that's okay with me. But we can also wrap it up in 8 minutes if everybody would like to keep concise and keep punctual. And I'm curious if anybody has any other thoughts they want to share. Haven't heard from you, Zal, except for something being on the ground. So if you want to share any other thoughts or questions or anything like that, then that'd be welcome. Also, Tadas, if you want to add anything else with regards to this whole governance structure. I mean, I know you've thought about this a lot, and I want to just give you the floor and the stage for as much time as you'd like. If you want to add more details about this or anything else you think that people should know. Maybe one thing I'll highlight too is that when I shared that Notion page with Tadas, I don't actually know where I put it. Maybe I should pull this up momentarily ago. But Tadas brought up a really interesting thought um, about thinking fast and slow. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that book by, I think it's Daniel Kahneman. I'll pull up the wrong one again, but it's an idea basically that like people have two different forms of thinking. There's like slow thinking where you're like making your decision, and then fast thinking is like, you're blinking and you're just walking and you're doing things kind of without even thinking about it. And Tadas shared a really interesting idea. Well, he shared both interesting ideas, about a lot of interesting ideas that I'm coming to think now. So one idea that I want to mention is that kind of to Will's point before, one thing that's really great about the respect game, in addition to Guild or whatever other tools we use, is that the respect game, and this also goes to Rosmari's too. So like, not everybody needs to know about how to get involved with all these governance processes from the beginning. So we want to make it simple and fun and enjoyable to get into involved with the community. And a lot of people don't even participate in Optimism Fractal because of the governance. They participate because they like the networking opportunities and earning respect, and because it's enjoyable and they can promote their work and have it shared and so forth. But if people want to go deeper, then the governance here, and it provides a lot of power and opportunity and a lot of benefits that has this whole great governance structure. But that's one thing I want to add too, that just provides some context here. So like, and I think that the respect game does a really great job of this. And Tadas made a comment here that Respect Game is consistently evaluating everyone's value creation and is making it easy for everybody to get involved, basically. And then over time, people can learn more. And they can do that by going to different websites, but they can also do it just by asking community members too, who are in the rooms. And so that's one great point that I wanted to bring up too, that I think is kind of natural to this process and just provide some context for how people can onboard and get involved with it. Just it kind of naturally happens when people are more interested after they like the original experience of the Respect Game and start to understand more about how it works. And then yeah, Tadas also had more details about kind of like the independence and autonomy of the different branches, legislative, executive branches, and the different roles, which I think he spoke about a bit there, but he went into more detail. And then, yeah, the idea about thinking fast versus slow was really interesting. It made me think of, we sometimes discussed fractals as like animals or like organic beings. And it kind of makes me think of this. And so it's like kind of biomimetic in that way. So just want to bring that up basically. And Toss, if you have any other thoughts you want to share about any of these or anything else that you think is helpful to go into here. Of course, we could always talk about this more in future episodes as well and so forth. But yeah, I think that it's really interesting. System two thinks I'll go to the store, and system one takes care of doing the actual physical actions like going to the store and stuff. So ORDAO does all the stuff on chain, and then the council is kind of like the brain in a way. Where it's making decisions and then, or it's part of the brain anyway, and then ORDAO is like actually doing the decisions on chain. Tadas?
Yeah, so these names of tripartite governance systems, judicial, legislative and executives, those are just names, analogies, because like if you look at traditional governance systems of countries which use tripartite governance systems, Optimism Fractal does not have much in common. So these are just names we used for lack of a better concept. But that's why it's useful to maybe look for other analogies, and yeah, that's why I thought of system 1 versus system 2 model from that book, Thinking Fast versus Thinking Slow. So yeah, maybe I want to talk more generally first about differences between legislative branch and executive, because both deal in proposals. So some people might think that only on-chain smart contract would be enough to make decisions. But one thing is that to pass on-chain proposals, you have to understand the actual transactions that are being proposed to execute. So the people who can actually review those proposals have to be technical, more technical. Whereas legislative branch or system 2, it can be can talk in more human language and be oriented towards non-technical people, and then so yeah, then you can basically pass a proposal in legislative branch, and then executive branch passes a proposal that and executes a proposal that implements that higher level intent that legislative branch decides on. Yeah, and I think that's a natural way for community to reach consensus. First we think about what to do in higher level terms, and then we think about implementation details, how to actually get it done. Yeah, so that's one difference is in the level of abstraction and type of language used. In that executive branch is in basically language of a platform, basically programming language or something like that, and the legislative branch uses more human level language. And another difference is speed and automation. So executive branch can automate more things and yeah, and it can do basically more in shorter spans of time because computer code can execute it. So and it's oriented towards actual taking action in the on-chain world. So now coming back to analogy of system 1 and system 2. So system 1 is oriented for action. Basically, it's not about thinking. You use system 1 when you don't think about what you're doing. Your nervous system still coordinates everything, but you do not like consciously direct your thoughts to think about. So, for example, walking or reacting to stuff and so on. And when you like consciously direct your thoughts to think, to decide before doing, that's system 2, and that is slower, and it deals in abstract concepts, and that's the same analogy applies to legislative branch of Optimism Fractal, in that it's also more abstract and it deals in the more abstract concepts, and it's slower, and but yeah, it ends up giving the higher level directions to executive branch or system 1. So that's an overview about the analogy.
Yeah, great point, Tadas. It's like a pretty delightful connection that emerged for me after hearing that. It kind of like clicked and made sense. I know a year, maybe 2 years ago, you wrote an article about how, like I kind of mentioned, like similar to how I mentioned before, like how we can compare fractals to like biological organisms. And I remember that generated a lot of discussion in the Eden Fractal community at the time. And this kind of reminds me of that too, because it's kind of like in order to create this kind of community organism, or I don't know what to call it, just a community, but decentralized and autonomous community. It kind of mirrors a little bit of like the way that our brains work, a little bit. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it also clarifies too. Because at first, when we first came with when you're first doing ORDAO, I'm like, well, how does this play a role with the council? But then, as I was working on this, and as I reread your article about the University of Tripartite Governance model. I recommend people read this because it goes into a lot more detail about this whole thinking and this whole kind of philosophy, and it applies it both to uh, communities and also and individuals. I think there's some really like fundamental insights here. So yeah, I recommend people to check it out to learn more details behind some of this, and maybe at some point Tadas will finalize and post it on his blog or something like that. But in the meantime, you can find it in the article as well. That's linked there. I linked to his Notion page. Yeah, and so basically after reading that and writing and thinking about it again, it really clicked a lot more and made a lot more sense about how it all works together. And it really kind of it's like a really naturally emergent mechanism that I don't think that had we tried to plan this all in advance, then we would have arrived at nearly what we have now. It kind of had to emerge over time from like the need and understanding about how these different uh like kind of how these different branches could play and what kind of needs the Optimism Fractal community had and how we could best build that and then using this as a model for other communities. And also, yeah, encourage people to check out Thinking Fast and Slow too. If you've never heard of it yet before, I recommend at least like listening to an overview of it. Toss kind of gave it, but it's like a pretty seminal book that explains human psychology and has a lot of insights. And then I suppose one other thing I wanted to add there too that was new to me when Tadas brought that up in that article was the respect game as a judicial branch. Previously, I never thought about the respect game as a judicial branch, even though it makes sense. Like we're kind of judging people's contributions all the time and ranking them. Um, but so it's both judging people's contributions in terms of ranking each other's contributions to say in our case Optimism Fractal, case contributions to Optimism and Superchain, and then it has this fair distribution of respect based upon peer consensus. And another interesting factor about it too is that the respect game provides a way to evaluate and judge the legislation and executive actions through reputation updates. So as people participate in the Optimism Fractal Council and ORDAO executive branch, then they can earn respect by contributing and doing a helpful job as legislators and executors in a way too. But people might also, if people don't do a good job, then they might not give them much respect. So it's a really interesting kind of balance of powers here. That's very nice, and that kind of gradual implementation where people can play when they want to and get more involved when they want to is also really nice too. So thanks to Das for sharing all these thoughts and helping us bring optimism back to life, as well as bring this whole tripartite governance system to life, and the fund distribution system for both Optimism Fractal and many other communities that can use these. Also, one other thing that I can mention too is that Eden Fractal is planning to implement ORDAO soon, and pretty soon the 3-year anniversary of Eden Fractal is coming up in about 2 months, and also the seasons are going to end soon for both Optimism Fractal and Eden Fractal, and we've been talking about implementing Epoch 3 or Epoch 2 for Eden Fractal for a while, and we kind of are in it, but I'm thinking about maybe having like an official Epoch 2, and then we can think about like we haven't yet decided what is the consensus process of Eden Fractal yet for the future. So I mentioned previously we had a consensus process that you can find at edencreators.com/plus, which is called Eden Plus Fractal, which is some similarities to this, but also quite different. It also wrote a great article and proposal about this, and we used it for over a year at Eden Fractal. You can see the fractal structure. People elect delegates in each room. So this is something that we could return to, but we might want to also think about a similar kind of a tripartite structure for Eden Fractal as well. Maybe this combined with the ORDAO, combined with the respect game. We're going to start playing the respect games at Eden Fractal at some point soon is the plan as well. And so, yeah, we'll need a legislative branch And we'll need to decide if we want anything to be different in the judicial branch respect game and the ORDAO implementation. And then we need to decide for the legislative branch, do we want to use the Optimism Fractal Council design or the Eden plus fractal design or some other design. So that's something that maybe people can think about and share any thoughts about. If anybody has any immediate inspiration about any of this. I see Tadas, you're unmuted, then feel free to jump in. But that's also something we can think about in the future. I see Tadas wrote the respect game provides a self-correcting function for the whole tripart system. Yep, that's great. I see Rosmari just shared a bunch of questions and thoughts there. And Tadas already responded to it. So maybe that was fast. I only just read that and I saw Tadas responded. Did either of you want to say something about that? Did I get frozen or are you still hearing me? Okay.
So I responded to the question wherein the works is the process of packaging up tripartite governance as one process, and how ready is it to be implemented at an external community. So it's already one process in Optimism it's one system with Optimism Fractal, and this details page or intent document, as I call it, describes all parts of the system. It could go into more details regarding ORDAO, but it has a link to ORDAO, so that's, I think, good enough. So any community could already replicate it. I guess from usability perspective, the only problem is that, like, for example, consensus process, it requires like manual interpretation of snapshot polls. So it's not like you could have, for example, a tool that automates, like not automates, but like that provides easy to use and clear interface for understanding and guiding through the council process in Optimism Fractal, but we don't have it. We simply have a number of rules described in this intent document, which we basically agreed to follow. We agree that on conditions when we consider proposal passed. And that's it. Basically, this I think intent document describes the whole system. That's what was the intent of it. It could maybe it describes it in it tries to be very clear and specific, so that there are no room for misinterpretation. And that might make it harder to read maybe for some people, but yeah.
Okay, so I know we have you here and like you're so knowledgeable and you created like ORDAO software, and I was just wondering how many Tadas's have to be for other communities so that community can use the tripartite governance system.
You don't like. We simply need to teach them. I don't think it's complicated at all. It's some parts are new and maybe unfamiliar to people, but I think it's easy to get. And once we create tools that guide through the process, it would be even more easy. So,
what kind of tools are you thinking about that can guide people to the process?
Well, first of all, front ends, like for council process or something akin to that, we could have like right now, then we have to look at the polls and interpret them to figure out if proposal is passed. Instead, you could have a front end UI which shows like when enough council members voted and what's what are the people in the current council and so on. It could be, we could have a front end specifically for our council process. And for our DAO, we also need a front end to show how proposals are created, passed, and so on. And you can achieve a lot of clarity just by visualization. The front end visualizes things properly. People could understand what's happening even without reading the rules.
Are you working on that at the moment, or you just thinking about it, or?
I'm not currently working on it, and this is one of the areas that I think that are really good for someone else to pick up. I mean, it's a component that is loosely coupled to other components, so someone could take ownership of this part of fractal ecosystem, like Abraham did for Fractalgram, and I think that would make the most sense.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yep, great questions, great points, Rosmari and Tadas. We are 12 minutes over. I kind of want to share at least a little bit more, so if it's okay, we'll just expand a little bit more. But if anybody has to go, then let us know. We can always wrap it up at the moment now too. But yeah, I did want to just share a bit more because I think that Rosemary's getting at a good point that while, for example, the Optimism Fractal details page is good for a lot of purposes. Like it doesn't have, for example, a link to, I think at the bottom I put a link to where people can make a proposal, or I might even try to do that. But it's like there is some like kind of basic stuff there, and like so this is like really breaking it down simple, and in doing so, um, some of the resources that people might want might not be there. And ideally, if we could put it all into an app, like for example, Rosemary shared a link to the Respect.Games app that Vlad and Lenar have built that has they attempt to make it so like you can play a Respect game and then start a community and have it like where there's voting directly in here too. And they also have a very different governance system. Vlad was trying to build a I suppose this was a simpler governance system, and he built it pretty quickly. But they have a section. I'm not logged in with any of these communities right now, but where you could like make a proposal right there. And I think that's what Tadas was saying too. Like Tadas, I see you have your hand raised, but maybe I'll just feel free to jump in if you want. But otherwise, I was going to show this too. Like Tadas has built this OrClient docs.fraps.xyz, where this is a front end for the ORDAO software, where you can take care of all the voting and so forth. Right now, this isn't the full front end; it's more so documentation, and you can use the developer console if you know how to use it to approve or deny or make lots of different actions on the proposal as well. And so, yeah, showing the actual ORDAO is great. So it helps because this is something that Toss has worked on a huge amount that provides a front end for how to use ORDAO. And similarly, I showed before as you were discussing this, I showed the Optimism Fractal Council in snapshot over here, where you can see people registering for the councils and who voted and who participated and so forth. And then you can go to scroll down, you can see different proposals like this one for changing to biweekly events and so forth and who voted. So Snapshot provides a decent interface, but it's not perfect for our purposes. And it would be nice to be able to put both like a really intuitive user guide for all the essential details that people need about these governance processes and like the things that they want to learn about, and then link out to learn more if they want to, but just provide the essential details and then interfaces where I suppose they could participate, like both they could register for the Respect game and then learn how to play the Respect game there. And then they could also see the proposals for Snapshot. Snapshot has a lot of open source stuff, so we might be able to integrate it from Snapshot directly if we choose to keep using Snapshot, which might be a good idea. And then they also have the ORDAO software. And Toss was saying that he would like to have some help in building this out, the proper front end for it. So if we could build an app, kind of like how Vlad aimed to build the Respect game app, but also have these additional functionalities in there, maybe with the Fractogram app that Abraham has been leading the development of the front end and building it in there, or maybe a separate app, whatever it may be. We could have like one app that people can go to and they can both learn all the essentials and not have to go to all these different websites and then participate and actually vote in these different processes too. So yeah, I think that would be useful to have. And we have a couple of draft designs of how that potentially could look here on the Fractogram page. Tadas?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Just wanted to note one thing. I think these kind of intent documents and these kind of processes without a front end, I think they will always be necessary in some form for some communities, because I think there is no perfect governance system, and I think there will always be part of the fractal ecosystem which innovates in governance processes. And I think that's the best way to create governance processes. You don't create a tool first. You first create a process using basic tools you already have and test it out that way. And then if it works, then you create a tool that reflects that. So that's I think another great feature of this system is that in the off-chain part, in the legislative branch, you can experiment because you don't have to write all the smart contracts first to test out a governance system. Yeah, so and if it works and we build the tool, then of course the governance system can spread on other communities, but there will probably always be fractals which try something new, and I think we found a way to try something new.
You're here. I agree. Great point. There'll be fractals innovating on new governance
Another one?
processes. Oh, Zaal?
Oh, shit, sorry.
Oh, this is okay. There's something falling on the ground again. Hopefully you're enjoying the call, Zal. It's always great to hear from you, and we appreciate you being here. Feel free if you do want to say anything to unmute and let us know any thoughts. Okay, great. So yeah, well said to Das. And over time, we will also aim to get more of it built into the apps as well, so more and more people can have easier time playing and making decisions and doing governance and so forth with fractal governance, fractal democracy, and all these different systems. And then people can keep innovating, and these off-chain processes help us provide that flexibility to kind of bounce it back a little bit. Curious, Tadas, Rosmari, Zaal, if there's anything else you want to add, I can wrap it up with a little presentation to close it off. And I kind of want to remind people about a couple more resources that people can check out to learn more whenever we're ready. So I can start up that conclusion presentation whenever we're ready. But Tadas, Rosmari, Zaal, any last? I
I'm
see
ready.
Rosmari giving thumbs up. She's ready? Okay. Sound good. I think Tadas and Zaal are ready too to start wrapping it up. Let me know if you have any last thoughts, I guess, before we wrap it up. Okay.
Just some concluding thoughts. I think this was a great meeting, and it's what a long time coming to create a meeting about the unified system as a whole. And yeah, as didn't see this how it related. I didn't see how the whole system related to tripartite governance system, neither when I was trying to create the council process, neither than when I was creating ORDAOs, which is really nice that you then did this work to basically create a unified model. And yeah, I think it's really nice.
Thanks to Optimism too.
Yeah,
For
that's true. Yeah, well, first off, I'll say thanks to Das for all the amazing work in designing these systems, and it's been a huge pleasure collaborating with you and hearing when you come up with a new design and going back and forth about it and stuff like that. So, and using it, so I'm greatly honored to be able to try these out and pioneer these and explore them and publish this research about it. And yeah, as Rosemary said, thank you to Optimism too. Optimism Grants Council approved this research mission that it provided me resources to do this research and focus on it and give it the attention that it deserves. So big shout out and thanks to Optimism and the Grants Council for approving it and enabling this research. And thanks so much to Das for giving so much great material to research and put together. You also kind of you kind of set the steps up for me because you did the ORDAO, and we collaborate a lot on the council, and then we had the respect game, and then you put the that tripartite article together. So I was like, I was trying to figure out how to put this together, and I'm like, oh, he has an article about that. So it was is much appreciated and great collaboration along the way. And also thanks Rosmari too for me and Rosmari collaborated on this image yesterday, and I think it's a really beautiful image. And I think it kind of succinctly kind of explains what's going on with the tripartite governance structure too. I also made another version without the tripartite governance on the top, and that kind of like spreads it out, so that's nice too. But yeah, thanks Rosemarie for making the wonderful promotions to help get the word out about it and collaborating on this beautiful image. And yeah, thanks to all for being here. Thanks to Will and Time as well for being here, and everybody who's participated at Optimism Fractal as well as the whole free fractal ecosystem and helping us to get where we're at with this governance system. Also, special thanks and shout out to Daniel Larimer and the Fractal Week team who originally came up with these ideas of what we now call the Respect game. Immensely grateful for everybody who's participated and helped us in this journey, and really excited for the next steps that we'll have with this tripartite governance system at Optimism Fractal. And yeah, I think that this will be a very useful framework for a much more legitimate and democratic and meritocratic and fair and fast and fund distribution system, governance system as a whole to make all kinds of decisions, and then also fund distribution and capital allocation system, because that's really important to be able to fund public goods and fund what matters and fund things that are important to different communities. So thanks again. Tadas Zaal, if you have anything that comes to mind, then feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'll just give a quick sign-off presentation. This has been a wonderful event of Eden
I
Fractal.
also wanted to say thank you to Zaal and the whole artist cyberpunk community at Zaal Fractal for testing the decision-making tools and methods that we've come up with too.
Great point. Thanks for reminding me, Rosemary. Yeah, Zaal, he's only mostly listening in right now, but Zaal has been doing amazing work as the founder and host of Zaal Fractal. You can check out the Zaal.com to learn more, and Zaal has been bringing in these processes and helping to educate and train people, and people have been really loving it. So many people come to Eden Fractal and Optimism Fractal from the Zaal Fractal, and he's really pioneering, showing how these processes like the Respect game can help creative people and people in all kinds of communities. So really appreciate that. I see Zal unmuted a moment ago. So Zal, if you'd like to speak and say hello at all, and then you're very welcome to do, and we'd love to hear from you as always.
I just want to say thanks, guys, and I always appreciate your guys' support. Always good listening in.
Awesome. Well, likewise, Zal. Much appreciate you being here, and much appreciate all the great work you do, as I was saying. And yeah, I know you're planning to integrate ORDAO, and if you're interested in implementing a council or having some sort of tripartite governance structure, something like that, then happy to explore how it can benefit the Zaal Fractal community. We've gotten to met a lot of people here who are on the screen, awesome people. So I hope that the whole event has been very interesting for you and helpful, and looking forward to collaborating to help everybody join and benefit from the Zaal, and encourage people to check out the Zaal.com to learn more and see how you can get involved with Zaal Fractal. All right, and I suppose I can move on to this concluding presentation if nobody else is inspired to join in. If not, then feel free. And yeah, I just wanted to one, I guess I wanted to just encourage people to check out the full forum post. You can start from the beginning for the overall understanding of the research into democratic fund distribution with the Optimism Fractal Respect game. And I think I hope you'll find it very interesting and helpful. And any comments or feedback is appreciated. You could look forward to the next couple deliverables regarding the role-based reward allocation system, user experience design for system interface, gamified interface prototype, and legal and compliance framework development, which I'll be delivering approximately once per month for the next 3 or 4 months or so. And you can check out the original initial technical architecture blueprint to see how the governance system integrates with the other components of the system to allow this fund distribution system. And then check out the videos that Rosemary shared on the Optimism Town Hall for more details about this too, and a visual overview and conversational discussions about it. Conversational discussions, you heard it here first. And the most recent deliverable, the governance integration strategy, where you can explore everything we discussed here and in a lot more detail too. Like we didn't really discuss in detail about why governance integration matters for capture resistance and enhanced decision quality and more legitimacy and trust, scalable coordination. And we didn't really go into the roots of fractal democracy. We've done this in a lot of previous videos, but there's a lot more details here. about all these things, as well as the different parts of the tripartite governance structure that we had discussed today. So I encourage people to check it out and provide any feedback, and also click the links too if you want to learn more. Like, there's so much more that we can go into. We've been working on this. Many people in the community have been working on this for years. So there's like a lot of helpful links here. For example, there's this whole article about fractal democracy and why it's useful that I've been working on the Optimistic site. Details about Daniel Larimer, founder of Fractally and the Fractally.com, where you can learn more about the inspiration behind the Respect game and the Fractally white paper. Articles on Eden Fractal about what are fractal decision-making processes in general and why fractal democracy is necessary throughout society. More details about the universality of tripartite governance that Tadas wrote. Articles about the Respect game and what Respect tokens are. The Optimism Fractal Council article where we make our proposals in Optimism Town Hall. We also didn't mention Optimism Town Hall. That also plays a pretty key role in Optimism Fractal governance too, because it provides a place where people can discuss things related to Optimism Fractal. So that works well with the council. OptimismTownHall.com, as mentioned before, where you can learn more and also get involved with the weekly events. Detailed articles about ORDAO and OREC, the Optimistic Respect-Based Executive Contract, the ORDAO playlist, where Tadas has hosted 6 different office hours and is planning to launch ORDAO Fractal. And there's about 12 videos where we've dived deep into ORDAO, as well as the GitHub repositories, all open source and with lots of information that Tadas has carefully designed and written, as well as the other apps that we offer, like the Respect.games app. And if you go to the tool section, then you can find Fractal Program app where you can play the Respect game and so forth, and our other kinds of capital allocation concepts and designs that we're in the process of refining that build upon the Respect game, like Respect trees and retro polls that we experimented during retro season. And yeah, I suppose that's all the links I wanted to share there, just because I wanted to provide an overview. I only probably clicked on like a quarter of the links that were there, but I just figured some of those are like, helpful to provide context for this. Also, the book More Equal Animals, where a lot of this was shared. And on this Fractal Democracy article, I've curated a lot of videos and podcasts where you can learn more about this, as well as the actual book itself is kind of a foundation for why these governance processes are so helpful in the first place with fractal democracy. And there's much more resources about each of these things in this fractal democracy article. And yeah, see, Rosmari wrote Optimism Town Hall to discuss all things related to the wider superchain. Because I said things about Optimism Fractal by mistake. So check out optimismfractal.com and join our next event on next Thursday at 17 UTC. Eden Fractal will be back on the following Thursday after that. Also encourage you to check out Zaal Fractals on Monday nights in EST. And check out the Zaal.com, as I said before, there to learn more and register. But yeah, we'll be hosting Optimism Fractal, where we'll be using the tripartite governance structure. Encourage everybody to get involved in both the Respect game and other parts of the governance system to whatever suits your interests. And then afterwards, we'll have the Optimism Town Hall as well, where we can discuss things related to governance or just in general about Ethereum and the superchain, with a special focus on Ethereum, on community coordination and governance. So encourage people to join all these events. Of course, you could find these on the events calendar for Optimistics. We look forward to seeing you there, and we also hope that you'll like and subscribe and share and watch the videos and so forth if you're not able to make it as well. Thanks again, everybody, so much for being here. Reminder, time change with the United States and so forth, so just keep that in mind for future events. And maybe we wrap it up by saying, like, what should we say? Go fractal governance maybe would be a good idea, or go tripartite governance. I don't know if Tadas and Rosmari and Zaal fell asleep by now because it's been a long call. But if anyone wants to join me for a wrap up, and then we can say maybe we could say go tripartite governance, because that's kind of been a main focus here. And it's a bit of a tongue twister as well. So thanks everybody for watching, and thanks everybody for being here. Tadas is laughing. He just woke up. And I hope you all have a great day. Are we ready, Tadas? You want to join me and just go tripartite governance? Sound good in 3?
That will be the hardest go phrase that we did so far.
That's true. We've been practicing all of our years to get to this. If you have a different suggestion, I'm okay with it too. Rosemarie, does that sound good?
Okay.
Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1, 0. Go tripartite governance! Woohoo!
Cheers, guys.
All right. Thanks all. See you next time.
See you.